Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, before starting with the topic, I want to explain something that during lectures, sometimes the tongue do not follow the brain. That is, the tongue do not follow ideas in the brain. So in this way, some minor mistakes are possible. I will try my best to remove these mistakes. Second point is that I will advise you to use the laptop screen because the laptop screen will clearly visualize the diagram and also the labels instead of mobile phone, smartphone, etc. Thank you. Now we will start with the lecture, and the today's topic is what are the midline structures seen on the basal surface of cerebrum and in the midline between right and left cerebral hemisphere. Now this is a medial surface of cerebral hemisphere. Now here I will show the midline structures which are cut to separate the right and left cerebral hemisphere. So what are those major and minor midline structures connecting the right and left cerebral hemisphere? And with this longitudinal section, when we will cut the midline structure, we will study different structures which are very important. Now, first of all, this curved midline structure is cut. This structure is known as corpus callosum. It comprises of nerve fibers which interconnect the right and left cerebral hemispheres. Those nerve fibers which interconnect the right and left cerebral hemispheres are grouped as commissural fibers. So this is the largest commissure of the nervous system, known as the corpus callosum. It is curved from before backward and also from side to side. Now, it comprises of various parts. First of all, there is a thin layer of tissue which is known as the rostrum. Of the corpus callosum. Next to rostrum, this curved anterior end of the corpus callosum is known as genu. Genu of the corpus callosum. This is the anterior end of the corpus callosum because this is frontal pole, and this is the posterior convexity of the cerebellum sphere known as the occipital pole, and this is temporal pole. So anterior end is known as the genu of the corpus callosum. Then the genu extends backwards and upwards and then turn forwards. This part of the corpus callosum is known as the trunk or body of the corpus callosum. This is trunk. Or body of the corpus callosum. Then this expanded posterior end of the corpus callosum. This is known as splenium of the corpus callosum. So these are four parts of the corpus callosum: rostrum, genu, trunk or body, and this is splenium of the corpus callosum. Now you can see it has an outer surface and inner surface. Outer surface is forming the floor of the longitudinal fissure, which partially separate the right and left cerebral hemisphere. From the under surface of the or lower surface of the corpus callosum, there is a double layer tissue form a sort of septum. This is known as septum pellucidum. Septum pellucidum. This is the lower free border of the septum pellucidum, to which a thick band of nervous tissue is attached. This is known as the fornix. This is known as the fornix. The septum pellucidum, it is attached to the middle of the inner surface of the corpus callosum. Now I will draw another diagram which will help us to know what is the relation of corpus callosum, different parts, and septum pellucidum. Suppose this is coronal section. Through the right and left cerebral hemisphere. This is right cerebral hemisphere and this is left cerebral hemisphere. It is coronal section. This was midline longitudinal section cutting the midline structures. Then coronal section is like this, dividing the brain into anterior half and posterior half. So you can see this is the cut surface showing the coronal cut section, the coronal plane showing the posterior half of the cut surface of right and left cerebral hemisphere. Now you know if you cut the cerebrum, outside is the gray matter and inside is the white matter. These are gyri and sulci. Gray matter on the surface of cerebral hemisphere, named as the cerebral cortex. This is cerebral cortex. Gray matter outside, white matter inside. So when we will cut a section like this, we will cut the corpus callosum also. So you can see this is the cut end of the corpus callosum. Now can you see the corpus callosum is curved from before backward and also from side to side. Corpus callosum. Cut section. Now can you see the corpus callosum has outer surface and inner surface. Here again you can see this is the outer surface of the corpus callosum and this is the inner surface. And you know this is a longitudinal fissure, partially separating the right and left cerebral hemisphere. Therefore, the outer surface of the corpus callosum in the midline form the floor of the longitudinal fissure. Then I told you from the lower inner surface of the corpus callosum, septum pellucidum arises, which is a double layer membrane, and it arises from the middle of the lower surface of the corpus callosum. So you can see these are the two laminae or two layers of the corpus callosum, which are attached to the middle of the lower surface of the corpus callosum. So this is a section through septum pellucidum. Now I will draw a three-dimensional view of the corpus callosum and septum pellucidum so that your concept become more clear. Now can you see this is the cut end of the corpus callosum. It is cut from side to side and from before backward. And this is outer surface of the corpus callosum. This is lower or inner surface. From the middle of its lower surface, a double layer of septum extend downwards. This is known as the septum pellucidum. Extends from its anterior end up to the posterior end. And this is the lower free border of the septum pellucidum. In this section, you can see above it is attached to the middle of the inner surface of the corpus callosum. These two laminae of the septum pellucidum descend, and at the lower end, a structure is attached known as the fornix. Two rod-like nervous tissues, elongated right line, known as the fornix. In this diagram, you can see lateral view. This is fornix attached to the lower free border of the septum pellucidum. So these two longitudinal bodies, they are like this. Now you can see only one marker, the other you can't see because it is on the other side. But if you want to see front view, you will mark two circular dots indicating two parts of the fornix. So anteriorly you can see these are the two parts of the this cylindrical body is attached to the lower border of the septum pellucidum known as the fornix. Now above can you see the two layers of the two laminae of the septum pellucidum, they are divergent and there is a small space, a small cavity inside known as the septum cavum pellucidum. This small cavity here in the upper part of the septum pellucidum just under the corpus callosum is known as the cavum septum pellucidum. Cave. Septum. pellucidum. For example, this is carpus callosum. This is its outer or upper surface. This is under surface. Now to the middle of its under surface, this double layer of membrane extend downwards, known as septum pellucidum. Now, if we cut an anterior section, we will draw a T-shaped diagram. So here you can see, this is the horizontal part and this is the vertical part of the T. But if we draw a lateral view, it is somewhat confusing. It is like this. It appears like this. The septum pellucidum is attached to the edge. It is not attached to the edge. It is attached to the middle of the lower surface of the carpus callosum. And this diagram also gives the real relation of the carpus callosum and septum pellucidum. For example, this is septum pellucidum and this is corpus callosum. And to the lower end of the corpus callosum here, fornix is attached, two cylindrical bodies. Now, what are the other structures? Now, what are the structures in the midline anteriorly, below the fornix, posteriorly, and inferiorly? Now, anteriorly, this is the rostrum of the corpus callosum. So, just below the rostrum of corpus callosum, there is a bundle of commissural fibers known as the anterior commissure. Anterior commissure. I told you commissural fibers are those nerve fibers which connect one hemisphere with the other. So here anteriorly, again there is a rope-like structure. For example, this is right cerebral hemisphere. This is left cerebral hemisphere. These are interconnected by a rope-like structure comprising of commissural fibers, nerve fibers. And the fibers spirals just like a rope. This is known as the anterior commissure. So front view will appear like this. Now if you want to cut a section, it will be like this. We will draw just a dot. So this is not dot-like, it is cylindrical like this, known as the anterior commissure. Now below the anterior commissure, there is again a layer of nervous tissue extending downwards from the anterior commissure. This is known as the lamina terminalis. Lamina means layer, terminal layer. A vertical membrane. In section, we will draw like this, known as lamina terminalis. At the lower end of the lamina terminalis is the optic chiasma. Part of the visual pathway. Now, what are the structures anteriorly? Two structures, anterior commissure and lamina terminalis. Now, what are the structures posteriorly? Posteriorly, there is attachment of another neuroendocrine gland known as the pineal body. Also known as epiphysis. I told you before that there are two neuroendocrine glands attached to the brain. One below called pituitary gland or hypophysis, and one posteriorly known as the epiphysis or pineal body. Now it is attached or it is suspended to this posterior wall by stalk of the pineal body. This is stalk of the pineal body. When stalk of the pineal body run forwards, it split into two laminae or layers. One layer run upwards, backwards to be attached to the base of the brain. The other lamina run downwards. Again, I will repeat. Posteriorly, a neuroendocrine gland is attached, known as the pineal body. It is attached to the posterior aspect of the brain by a stalk. So this is stalk of the pineal body. When this stalk run forward, it split into two laminae. The upper lamina we will trace. It run upwards and forwards, then backwards, and again forwards and upwards and attached to the base of the brain. Then below it extends forwards and then downwards and backwards, two laminae. Now in the upper lamina, again there is a commissure, again bundle of nerve fibers which interconnect. A commissure. And this commissure is known as the habenular commissure. Habenular commissure, again comprised of commissure fibers. It connects two nuclei, habenular nuclei, one on the right side, one on the left side, below the thalamus. So habenular nucleus I have not shown, I have just shown the habenular commissure, which is in the upper part of the posterior wall. Then in the lower part, lower lamina, again there is a commissure, bundle of commissure fibers which interconnect different parts of the right and left cerebral hemisphere. This is known as posterior commissure. So above we talk about the structure that is fornix. Anteriorly from above downward is the anterior commissure and lamina terminalis. Posteriorly is pineal body, pineal stalk, upper lamina, which is occupied by the habenular commissure, and lower lamina, which is occupied by the posterior commissure. Now, inferiorly, what are the structure from before backward? Number one is the optic chiasma. Behind the optic chiasma, there is a layer of gray matter known as the tuber cinerarium. This green one, a layer of gray matter known as the tuber cinerarium. Tuber cinerarium. Then the tuber cinerarium bulges to form a small conical projection. This small conical projection is known as median eminence. Median eminence. You can see this layer of gray matter is known as the tuber cinerarium, and this conical projection arising from tuber cinerarium downwards is known as the median eminence, and the median eminence is continued downward as infundibulum. Infundibulum. To the lower end of infundibulum, pituitary gland is attached. Hypophysis. Now, this stalk is known as infundibulum. Or pituitary stalk. With the help of infundibulum or pituitary stalk, the pituitary gland is attached to the base of the brain. Pituitary gland or hypophysis, and this is pineal body or epiphysis. Now, still behind the tuber cinerarium on the basal surface, there are two rounded elevations. One is right, one is left. And here in this diagram, I have shown one elevation, known as the mammillary body. One right, one left mammillary body. Because it is lateral view, so you can see only one mammillary body. And posterior to the mammillary body, here the tissue is perforated, known as the posterior perforated substance. Posterior perforated substance. This part of the brain tissue is showing several perforations for the entrance of central branches of the cerebral arteries. You know, there was anterior perforated substance also, already we discussed, on the orbital part of the inferior surface, just distal to the olfactory tract and stria. And this is posterior perforated substance, which is partly here and partly it extends downwards to the midbrain, that we will discuss later on in midbrain. So this is upper part of the posterior perforated substance. Here in the front of the midbrain is the posterior part of the lower part of the posterior perforated substance. Now just behind it, this is a section, longitudinal section passing through the midbrain. So this is midbrain. Longitudinal section through the midbrain. And you know the midbrain is traversed by a canal known as the aqueduct of Sylvius. This is the midbrain. A section through longitudinal section through the midbrain, and this is aqueduct of Sylvius. Which connect the third with the fourth ventricle. Now, this is the cavity of the third ventricle. When we cut a midline section, the third ventricle will be cut. Now, can you see the third ventricle has a roof, mainly formed by fornix. Of course, on each side, the choroid plexus of lateral third ventricle. Anterior wall of the third ventricle is formed by the anterior commissure above and lamina terminus below it. The posterior wall of the third ventricle, this is third ventricle cavity, suppose, is formed by the pituitary, the pineal body, pineal stalk, superior lamina, inferior lamina, superior lamina above occupied by the habenular commissure, inferior lamina below it is occupied by the posterior commissure. Now this is cavity of the third ventricle. Can you see the cavity of the third ventricle extend backwards into the proximal part of the stalk of the pineal body? This is known as the pineal recess. This cavity of the third ventricle extend into the root of the stalk of the pineal body. So this small extension of the cavity of the third ventricle is known as pineal recess. And can you see the superior lamina run backwards and then turn again forwards? Another recess is formed. This is called suprapineal recess. Epipineal or suprapineal. Above the pineal body, suprapineal recess. Now we cut a section through the middle line. Here the third ventricle will be cut. So the third ventricle has roof, anterior wall, posterior wall, floor, and lateral wall. Suppose this is right cerebral mesosphere. So what will be this? Right lateral wall of the third ventricle. This is right lateral wall of the third ventricle. Then cavity of the third ventricle. Then left lateral wall is removed with the other cerebral hemisphere, which is removed when we will cut this section. So what are the structures here which form the lateral wall of the third ventricle? Now here there is a oblique sulcus known as the hypothalamic sulcus. This is known as hypothalamic thalamic sulcus. This sulcus is oblique. So below and in front of the hypothalamic sulcus, this is thalamus. This is hypothalamus. Below and in front of this hypothalamic sulcus, this part of the lateral wall of the third ventricle is formed by hypothalamus. Now, above and behind this hypothalamic sulcus, this part is the thalamus. So this is lateral wall of the third ventricle. Suppose if this is right cerebral mesosphere, this will be the right lateral wall of the third ventricle. It is formed by diencephalon, and you know diencephalon mainly comprised of thalamus and hypothalamus. Now here you can see there is an oblique sulcus called hypothalamic sulcus. So below and in front of the hypothalamic sulcus is hypothalamus. Above and behind this hypothalamic sulcus is the thalamus. Now here from before backward we trace, this is optic chiasma, this is tuber cinerarium, this conical projection is called median eminence. From its apex the infundibulum or the pituitary stalk arises, and with the help of this pituitary stalk, pituitary gland is attached to the brain. Behind the tuber cinerarium, there are two bodies known as the right and left mammillary body. Still behind it is upper part of the posterior perforated substance. Then still behind is the upper end of the midbrain. From before backward, you can see the roof of the third ventricle is formed by fornix, and on each side of the fornix is choroid plexus. Anterior wall from above downward is formed by the anterior commissure and lamina terminalis. Posteriorly is the pineal body, pineal stalk, superior lamina having habenular commissure and habenular nucleus, and inferior lamina has posterior commissure. Floor from before backward, optic chiasma, tuber cinerarium, median eminence, infundibulum, pituitary gland, right and left mammillary bodies, posterior perforated substance, then posterior part of the midbrain. Can you see the midbrain is traversed by cerebral aqueduct? Part of the midbrain is in front of the cerebral duct, and part of the midbrain is behind the cerebral aqueduct. Now this posterior part of the midbrain has a special name known as tegmentum. Tegmentum of midbrain. This whole posterior part of the midbrain, posterior to the cerebral aqueduct, has a special name known as the tegmentum of the midbrain. Now, this upper part of the tegmentum of the midbrain, just below the floor of the third ventricle, this one. This is upper part of the tegmentum of the midbrain. Now, this upper part of the tegmentum of the midbrain is known as subthalamic tegmental region of midbrain. Subthalamic tegmental region of midbrain. Here on each side there is a subthalamic nucleus, one below the right thalamus, the other below the left thalamus. In the upper part of the tegmental region of the in the upper part of the tegment of the midbrain, in this upper part of the tegmentum of the midbrain has a special name, subthalamic tegmental region of the midbrain, where subthalamic nuclei are present, one on the right, one on the left side. I have shown one nucleus. So these were the features longitudinal section in the middle line. Now, if you cut a coronal section, I told you this is right cerebral hemisphere, left cerebral hemisphere. Then you can see the corpus callosum having upper surface and lower surface. And from the middle of its under surface, you can see the septum pellucidum comprising of two laminae. And at the lower end of the septum pellucidum is the fornix. Then on each side here is the diencephalon, that is thalamus. This is right thalamus. And this is left thalamus. This is thalamus. Right and left. Right in the right cerebral hemisphere and left in the left cerebral hemisphere. Now below the thalamus is hypothalamus. This is right hypothalamus and this is the left hypothalamus. In the right cerebral hemisphere, this section through right hypothalamus, and in the left cerebral hemisphere, this is section through the left hypothalamus. Thalamus and hypothalamus. Now this is thalamus, this is hypothalamus. Both are parts of diencephalon. Which we discussed in the first lecture when we were classifying different parts of the nervous system. Now I want to explain. This is coronal section. So suppose this is coronal section. This is section through the brain. Now the cut surface, can you see first of all what is cut? Corpus callosum. Then what is cut? Septum pellucidum in this section. Then fornix is cut. Front view of the fornix. Then can you see this is thalamus? Thalamus is cut. And then hypothalamus is cut. Thalamus is cut. This is thalamus and this is hypothalamus. Right thalamus, hypothalamus, left thalamus, hypothalamus. Right diencephalon, left diencephalon. This is white matter. Outside this is gray matter. So all these structures are embedded in the white matter. This is white matter of each cerebral hemisphere. Now you can see below the thalamus and hypothalamus, midbrain is cut. Now this is the midbrain, a section through the midbrain. Traversed by cerebral aqueduct. This is the midbrain. And this is cerebral aqueduct, which connect the third with the fourth ventricle. This section, corner section at this level, cutting the corpus callosum, septum pellucidum, fornix, then in the lateral wall of the third ventricle, thalamus, hypothalamus, and midbrain, from above downward. Corpus callosum, thalamus, hypothalamus, midbrain. Here, septum pellucidum and fornix. Now, this diagram will misguide you. You can say that thalamus is above, hypothalamus is below. Because we have to draw this like this. But it gives a misconception. You can see there is hypothalamic sulcus. The thalamus is above and behind the hypothalamus. And hypothalamus is below and in front. It is not like this. Thalamus is above, hypothalamus is below. If this sulcus was like this, so thalamus above, hypothalamus below. No, the sulcus is oblique. So thalamus is above and behind, hypothalamus is below and in front in the lateral wall of the third ventricle. Now, in this diagram, you can't see the third ventricle. Can you see this is third ventricle? This is third ventricle. Can you see this is the roof of the third ventricle? Right lateral wall of the third ventricle, left lateral wall of the third ventricle, and floor of the third ventricle. Here in this view again, roof of the third ventricle, anterior wall of the third ventricle, posterior wall and floor. In this diagram, anterior and posterior wall cannot be shown. But here can you see this is cavity of the third ventricle. Now this is right lateral wall of the third ventricle, which is formed above and behind by thalamus, below and in front by hypothalamus. This is one lateral wall of the third ventricle. Thalamus is located above and behind, hypothalamus below and in front. Then in the floor of the third ventricle, optic chiasma, tuber cinereum, the conical projection called the median eminence, pituitary stalk or infundibule pituitary gland, right mammary bodies, posterior peripheral substance, then the subthalamic tegmentum of the midbrain. Floor from before backward. Now can you see here this section is only passing through midbrain. This is why in the floor we have drawn only midbrain. Its anterior part cannot be shown in this diagram. The anterior peripheral substance, mammary body, tuber cinereum, optic chiasma, it cannot be shown because this is a vertical section through it. Now this diagram you can see which boundaries are third ventricle: roof, anterior wall, posterior wall, and floor, and one lateral wall, thalamus, hypothalamus. In this diagram you can see the roof, right lateral wall, left lateral wall, and floor only in the region of midbrain. Now this is roof, and can you see the roof is formed by fornix, and there is gap between the thalamus and fornix, that is between the lateral wall and roof. Here there is choroid plexus. Clear? Now you can see this is the under surface of corpus callosum. In the middle it is partitioned by septum pellucidum. Can you see one ventricle is this, one is this? Now what is this? Right lateral ventricle. Right lateral ventricle. Why? Because it is in the right cerebral hemisphere. Right lateral ventricle. And can you see? This is left lateral ventricle. Can you see? This is right lateral ventricle in the right cerebral hemisphere, left lateral ventricle in the left cerebral hemisphere. Which structure separates the right and left ventricle from each other? Septum pellucidum. That is, when you pass a needle through this septum pellucidum, it will enter into the lateral ventricle of the cerebral hemisphere. Can you see? This is medial wall of the ventricle. This is the roof, and this is the floor of the lateral ventricle. So can you see how much useful these two diagrams are? They are not only showing the boundaries of lateral ventricle and also the boundary of third ventricle. And this is cerebral aqueduct which communicates the third ventricle with the fourth ventricle. And where is fourth ventricle? You know it is here. Here. This is fourth ventricle. Third ventricle via cerebral aqueduct communicate with the fourth ventricle. And it is also showing the boundaries of the third ventricle. So these two diagrams are very important because they will be helpful to you to describe different structures, the ventricles, and you should draw these diagrams again and again and label it so that all these structure must be on the tips of your fingers. Now, midline structure on the basal surface of the cerebral hemisphere. If we examine the basal surface of the cerebral hemisphere, what will be the midline structures? For this, we will draw the basal surface. Now we will discuss the midline structure on the basal surface of the cerebrum. These are the midline structures between the right and left cerebral hemisphere. Now from before backward, what are the midline structure? Number one, you can say on each side are the remnant of right and left optic nerves. The eyeballs are left in the orbit of the cranial cavity when you remove the brain. So in the midline, there is partial decussation of right and left optic nerve. So this is the optic chiasma. And optic chiasma posterolaterally continue as right optic tract and left optic tract. Now behind the optic chiasma, what are the midline structures from before backward? So just behind the optic chiasma is the tuber cinereum, and from its tip, infundibulum arises. With the help of that, pituitary gland is suspended to the basal surface of the cerebrum. Now, here in this diagram, you know the optic, the pituitary gland and the pituitary are removed. So you can see the tuber cinereum. Now, behind the tuber cinereum, there are two rounded bodies, one right, one left, known as the mammillary bodies. Still behind the mammillary body, the brain tissue is perforated for the entrance of central branches of the cerebral artery. This is known as the posterior perforated substance. Now, part of the posterior perforated substance is on the basal surface of the cerebrum in the middle end, and part of it is on the anterior aspect of the midbrain that I will show when we will discuss the midbrain. This is posterior perforated substance. You can see here the olfactory bulb, olfactory tract, stria, and behind the stria on each side, these were the anterior perforated substance. Anterior perforated substance. Now on each side, but in the midline, this is posterior perforated substance, which, as I told you, partly are on the basal surface of the cerebrum in the midline and partly on the anterior aspect of the midbrain between the two crus cerebri of the midbrain. Then you can see this is the cut section of the midbrain traversed by the cerebral aqueduct. So these are the midline structures seen on the basal surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now, if you compare this with this diagram, can you see from before backward, if you cut a section, optic chiasma, tuber cinerarium, memory body, posterior perforated substance, and midbrain are cut. Now, can you see here the same cut section, optic chiasma, behind it tuber cinerarium, of course the median eminence, infundibulum and pituitary gland, then right and left memory bodies, then posterior perforated substance, then midbrain. Now, which part of the midbrain? The part behind the cerebral aqueduct, which is called tegmentum of the midbrain, and this upper part of the tegmentum of the midbrain is known as the subthalamic tegmental region of the midbrain. So these are the structure will form the floor of the third ventricle here, floor of the third ventricle, and which you can easily see on the basal surface of right and left cerebral hemisphere. So, dear students, again I am stressing that the neuroanatomy is not difficult, and to know the different structures, you draw these figures again and again, label it, then you can easily remember it, and you can easily describe all these structures. And the other important point is that all these diagrams, they cover many topics. So we will draw these diagrams again and again. So if these diagrams are on the tips of your fingers, you can describe different features of the cerebrum. For example, the boundaries of the right and left lateral ventricle can easily be described. Boundaries of the third ventricle can easily be described. Then embedded in the white matter is right and left diencephalon, and various structure seen in the midline on the basal surface of the right and left cerebral hemisphere. So now I will show these structures on the human brain, which is very important. Now this is a human brain specimen. You can see the superolateral surface, and here is a longitudinal fissure which separate the right and left cerebral hemisphere, and you can see below in the floor there are midline structures. Now this is superolateral surface. You can see the frontal pole, temporal pole, and occipital pole. Can you see these are gyri and these are sulci? So remember, these gyri and sulci are not constant. They vary from one individual to the other, and even they vary in the right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere of the same individual. Now you can see this is posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So if you separate its slips in the floor, you can see there are buried gyri and sulci. These are gyri and sulci of the insula embedded in the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now come to the inferior or basal surface. Now you can see this is cerebrum, then pons, medulla oblongata, and this is cerebellum. Now this is inferior surface of the cerebral hemisphere. So can you see the frontal pole, temporal pole, and occipital pole? So this whole is the basal or inferior surface of the cerebral hemisphere. This is orbital part and this is tentorial part. Here the tentorium cerebelli, the dural fold, is lodging this groove separating the cerebrum from cerebellum. Now on the basal surface, can you see a remnant of olfactory tract here? Here olfactory bulb is cut. This is a right olfactory tract and this is left one. The bulbs are removed. And can you see this is olfactory sulcus on the basal surface? And can you see irregular H-shaped orbital sulci separating the anterior, posterior, lateral, and medial gyri? This is olfactory sulcus, and this is gyrus rectus, and this is longitudinal fissure, and the other hemisphere. Can you see parts of the right and left optic nerve? They are cut. Eyeballs are left in the skull. And can you see there is partial decussation between right and left optic nerve to form optic chiasma. And from the optic chiasma, this is right optic tract and left optic tract, which points around the midbrain and not visible. Can you see just behind the optic chiasma, this raised area? This is tuber cinereum, and here was pituitary stalk and pituitary gland, which are removed. And behind this, can you see this elevation 1 and 2? This one is the image. These are two mammary bodies. So from before backward, can you see optic chiasma, tuber cinereum, to which the pituitary gland is attached, and right and left mammary bodies. Then can you see midbrain? See midbrain, pons, and then medulla oblongata. And this is right and left cerebellar hemisphere connected by this worm-like structure called vermis. So you have seen some of the midline features of the cerebrum located between right and left cerebral hemisphere. Now, another cerebral hemisphere, supralateral surface, convex from before backward, from above downward, and this is posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, and inside are buried gyri and sulci known as the insula. Frontal pole, temporal pole, occipital pole. Now basal surface is this one. Now here midline structure is given to remove right and left cerebral hemisphere. What are the midline structure which are cut? This is medial surface, and can you see this is corpus callosum. This is rostrum, genu, anterior end. Why anterior? Because this is frontal pole, occipital pole. So this is genu. The genu is continued as trunk of the corpus callosum, and this is posterior end of the corpus callosum, which is rounded. This is known as splenum. It is posterior end because this is posterior end or occipital pole, posterior pole. So with the help of poles, you can demonstrate that this is genu, which is anteriorly, this is splenum, which is posteriorly. Now, can you see this is the outer surface of the corpus callosum? And can you see this is the inferior surface of the corpus callosum? From the middle of the inferior surface of the corpus callosum, can you see this septum or partition arises? You can see this one. This is called septum pellucidum, this one. If you pass a needle through it, it means you will enter into the lateral ventricle of the cerebral hemisphere. So here, this is interventricular foramen, and you can see the pointer is in the lateral ventricle of the cerebral hemisphere. So this is septum pellucidum. This is lower free border of the septum pellucidum, and can you see a white band? This is fornix. So corpus callosum in the midline, under surface, septum pellucidum is attached, which separates the right lateral ventricle from the left lateral ventricle, and at the lower free bar of the septum pellucidum is the fornix. Now here is rostrum, the small extension of corpus callosum. So rostrum, genu, trunk, splenum, septum pellucidum, its lower free border is the fornix. Then anteriorly, can you see this rounded structure? This is the cut end of anterior commissure, and this is lamina terminalis, a thin sheet of membrane. So below the rostrum, this is anterior commissure, and this is lamina terminalis. Clear? Now posteriorly, here the pineal body is this is the pineal body, and rest of the posterior wall is ruptured in this specimen. Now below, can you see this is optic chiasma? This is remnant of the optic nerve, optic chiasma, optic tract, and this is mammary body which is cut, which is damaged. Then this is midbrain, a section through the midbrain. Can you see there is a canal passing through the midbrain here? cerebral aqueduct. This is the midbrain, and this is the cerebral aqueduct which passes through it. Now, can you see here is third ventricle? So this is the right cerebral hemisphere. So this is the right lateral wall of the third ventricle. Can you see there is a sulcus, hypothalamic sulcus? So below, in front of the sulcus, this is hypothalamus. Above and behind the sulcus is the thalamus. So diencephalon, thalamus, hypothalamus. Thalamus above and behind, hypothalamus below in front, separated by hypothalamic sulcus. This diencephalon or hypothalamus and thalamus form the lateral wall of the third ventricle. Here is the cavity of third ventricle which is opened. So this third, can you see this is cut surface of the cerebellum to the vermis, and can you see a tent-shaped cavity in front? This is pons. From here up to here is the midbrain. From here up to here is the pons, and this is the upper part of the medulla oblongata. The rest of the medulla oblongata is removed. Now, can you see behind the pons and behind the medulla oblongata this tent-shaped cavity? This is called the fourth ventricle. So lateral ventricle through cerebral aqueduct which traverses through the midbrain, it communicates with the fourth ventricle. So we have seen the different structures in the midline which interconnect the right and left cerebral hemisphere. So here in the posterior wall, the pineal body and the pineal stalk and commissures, they are cut. They are cut. So you cannot see it. So again, I will repeat, this is medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Here is longitudinal fissure. In the floor is corpus callosum comprising of rostrum, genu, trunk, splenum. Under surface give attachment to a double membrane called septum pellucidum. And can you see this rod-like structure here at the lower border? This is fornix. And then anteriorly, this rounded white tissue. This is the anterior commissure, and this membrane is called lamina terminalis. The posterior wall is ruptured. Or inferiorly, from before backward, this is the optic chiasma, tuberous cinerarium. Then there is the upper end of the midbrain. The portion behind the aqueduct, this is called tegmentum of the midbrain. From before backward, you can see. So this is cavity of the third ventricle, and here one lateral wall of the cavity of third ventricle is visible. Above and behind is the thalamus. Below and in front is hypothalamus. So this is corpus callosum, and I told you around it is the callosal sulcus. Can you see the cingulate sulcus? And this is cingulate gyrus, which curve around the curvature of the corpus callosum. And this is cingulate. This is the cingulate sulcus, which turn upwards, and then here this is central sulcus. Can you see this U-shaped gyrus? This is paracentral lobule, which is on the supralateral surface, continuous with the precentral gyrus and postcentral gyrus. This is suprasplenial sulcus. Can you see the parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcaneal sulcus? This is medial surface of the occipital bone. So this is cuneus, and this is precuneus. And here you can see the central sulcus, which is damaged. Precentral sulcus, here is postcentral sulcus, superior and inferior frontal sulci. Here you can see the posterior MS of the lateral sulcus. This is anterior horizontal thick, and the ascending is not clear. Now here there is pars orbitalis, pars triangularis, pars opercularis, Broca's area, which is the motor speech area. And I told you that this is central sulcus. In front of it is precentral gyrus, behind is postcentral gyrus. The central sulcus separates the motor cortex from sensory cortex. This is the importance of this central sulcus. And these are other sulci and gyri. And I told you they vary in the same cerebrum, both of them, and also between individuals. So thank you very much.